All right, what's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, JG? Let's see who's going to come into the building tonight. Yes, sir. Where's my moderator at? Yeah, we're going to have a good one. Very interesting topic. Been kind of like flying under the radar, but you know what? I seek out all tethers for sure. But this video or this presentation is really going to deal with what's up, H Rich. This is really going to deal with this dude that be coming in my comments. His name is Thomas, Oklahoma. So he might be watching. You know, this video is right up his alley, and so I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say. And basically, what I'm hoping for. When I went on his page, I don't see that he do any lives. He just makes videos. And so, what's up, Charlie Shaw? And so, I'm wondering whether or not he'd be willing to have a conversation with me on a live stream, because he makes some very interesting comments, and I want to, explore that with him. I'm not talking about having a debate, but just having a conversation, and just maybe this video will spark that conversation. What's up, China Black? DJ Rhythm Selector, Keel Hall, I guess that's the name, Keel Hall. What's up? Yeah, so how many of you in the chat know who Thomas, Oklahoma is? Right? If you do, just put a 1 in the chat. Let me know if you know who Thomas, Oklahoma is. Yeah, so let me do this. Let me find 1 second. What's up, Malik Bay? Let's see. I'm gonna try to go to get a copy of his. I think this is the page right here. Okay. All right, let's do this. Okay, this is the guy, Thomas, Oklahoma. And so his page is pretty much dedicated to showing the Native American influence in the creation of blues and jazz. All right, so you know how I get down. I'm not going with that, because there's a lot that's being said here that's not backed up. There's a lot of what I would call guesswork and just making stuff up, because no one can actually check what's up. Yeah, China Black, I know because some of us have to deal with him in the comments. What's up, Don Switzer? And so I know who he is. And so he be making some wild claims and stuff like that. So I decided, let me go on his channel, check out a couple of videos and see what he's talking about. And so that's what I did. So I want to bring up this video, and I'm going to basically talk about and comment on this particular video that comes from his channel. And we're going to dissect all the lies and misinformation in this particular video. So let me pull that up right now. Let's see if I can find it first of all. Let's see. Okay, Native American. That's not the one. Just 1 second, guys. Okay. It's called Native American Origins of the Blues. All right. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to be jumping through this a little bit because there is some music and I don't want to get a copyright strike. And so I may be stopping, a little bit here and there, but just bear with me. All right. So let me start it and let's get into it, because this first guy, the guy who's introducing this video, off the top, he's lying. So let's listen to this.
Welcome to Beyond Words. I'm Douglas Prue. Blues is uniquely North American and attributed to Afro-Americans, but as we'll see, wasn't born from those roots alone. The music began as a unique merger of European and African traditions around 1860 in the Mississippi Delta. But what historians seem to overlook is the integral role the natives of this region played in the birth of a virtual religion.
What are you talking about?
Okay, so first of all, he said a couple of mistruths there. He said that the blues was we call it a combination of European and African American music concepts. The blues was born out of the field hollers and things of that nature. It didn't come from Europe, you know. So that's the first thing that he said that was incorrect. And he said something about that it comes from Native American influences. There's nothing that I see that tells me it comes from Native American influence. But this is what this video is all about. It's about trying to lay the groundwork so that you may believe. They're not going to prove it now. Throughout this video, they're not going to prove that it comes from them. They're just going to say it. And you have to accept it, or you should accept it. So here are the tactics they're going to use. They're going to use the proximity argument. Okay, you guys know what I mean by the proximity argument? You guys were in our communities when you guys ran from slavery, and we welcomed you in, and there was some cultural exchanging of musical ideas, food, and all fashions, whatever. And so they're using, so this will be a through line throughout this presentation, the proximity, the runaway slaves, and the finding refuge amongst the natives. And so by doing that, they're saying that we must have gotten some of this blues influence or jazz influence from them. Mind you, they're not going to document it. They're not going to spell it out so you can research it. You have to take their word. And here's the genius of doing it this way. I remember when I had Minnesota on my platform, and we were talking about the Latino thing, right? And talk about the 50-50. And he made a comment. He said, the Latinos should have waited another 25 years when all the pioneers are dead. They made this claim too soon because pioneers are still alive. Now, with this claim of creating or helping to create the blues and jazz, you can't talk to the pioneers of blues and jazz today. Who are you going to interview to refute anything these people are saying today? These guys waited about 60, 70 years to make this claim. For 50, 60, 70 years, you didn't hear a peep from the Native American community. Now, all of a sudden, I think probably since the 90s, this been brewing, this idea that Native Americans could have played a part in the creation of blues and jazz. So let's continue the video.
Native people in the blues, and I give them those examples, the stomp dance, round dance songs. What's the basis of the blues? The heartbeat. It's a drum beat, right? The heartbeat of Mother Earth. We had a play in that.
So she's saying they had a play in it. That's another through line you're going to hear, the heartbeat. This is something that Thomas Oklahoma always refers to, the heartbeat. He also said that the floor on the floor concept comes from Native Americans. Foolish. It's just a foolish claim. When I say floor on the floor, you guys know what I'm saying. Boom, 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 boom. He says that's a Native American thing. It's insane, but that when you're going to hear that word as well, heartbeat. So they're going to say that is the foundation of Black American music. And why do I put it that way? Because blues from blues come all the other genres in America. Everything comes from the blues. So if the Native Americans are responsible for the foundation of our music, then they're the progenitors of our music, not Black Americans. Now, again, how can we counter that? Everybody's dead. I can't interview Muddy Waters. I can't interview B.B. King. I can't interview Charlie Patton. I can't interview none of these people. They're all dead and gone. but they want you to believe that their influences came from them. Let's go ahead.
And so people go, you're saying that all of this came out of this? And I said, yeah, but it's never been acknowledged.
I got to stop it. I'm sorry for stopping it because there's so much that I want to cover here. That reminds me, that comment right there reminds me, I was watching a live by my good friend, the Puerto Rican nationalist. He had on Adriana Casa, and she was saying that she believed that Black Americans was hiding all the Puerto Rican pioneers. That's why we don't know about them. This is what they're doing. For some reason, no one knows who these Native American pioneers are because they were hidden. And now we're just supposed to believe that they exist.
The words slavery and persecution are synonymous with African Americans. Genocide and ethnic cleansing with Native Americans. When these two races were pitted against overwhelming odds and forced into terrible situations, it was only natural that they banded together as anyone would for survival.
That's a little bit of Cajun for you.
From underground railways bringing people into the relative freedom of northern reservations, to carefully planned uprisings against slave owners, these people forged alliances that melded the two cultures in every conceivable way.
You see what I'm saying? How they trying to create this proximity argument. Nothing, they're not going to prove anything. Just proximity, just saying, you know, it probably happened this way because of some historical events that were happening at the time. Moving ahead a little bit. I'm trying to keep the music.
And he used to have these 78s piled up in the father was a drummer.
Okay, listen to this.
At a very early age, because when I was 14, I worked as a housekeeper, and I worked for a couple. The father was a drummer, a musician, and he used to have these 78s piled up in the corner, and he'd play them all day and practice because he was a drummer. Mahalia Jackson, Billy Eckstine, they had all those wonderful singers. When we finally were able to afford a stereo, we used to buy those old albums, and that's how they got interested in that music.
The music that we played, listened to then, we play now, and it was our, I feel like it was our past, but then it was our future too, you know. And then plus that fact that we relive our childhood every night we play, you know.
So he said it was their past and their future. They're laying claim to the blues. They're laying claim. They said it's part of their past. Let's go.
Me and my brother here. It's like it's icing on the cake, you know.
Memphis has always been considered the heart of blues country. And it didn't take long for Clyde and Gary to heed the call to move there.
We went there trying to find a Cherokee bass player that played with Elvis, and his name was Bill Black. Not a lot of people know, but he was a Cherokee guy.
Well, let me just tell you straight up the top, Bill Black wasn't Cherokee. That's a misnomer, and unfortunately, people in the Native community are probably susceptible to believing certain rumors without really doing their full investigation. You guys can look up Bill Black yourself. Just Google his name. The bass player who played for Elvis, he's a Caucasian man. He's not native. He's not even half native. So where did he get that from? I have no clue. So they also recognize him for being, you know, this exceptional bass player. I'm talking about Bill Black. Come to find out, like, they talk about his plucking style of playing the bass and trying to make him out to be some type of pioneer, when in fact, a gentleman back in the jazz era named Bill Johnson was actually the person who pioneered that particular element. Let me move this ahead because it's going to feature some music. Like I said, I'm trying to avoid that. Let me move ahead to here and see where we are.
That's All Right Mama for Sun Records in 1954.
She done told me, Papa done told me.
So That's All Right Mama by Elvis Presley. All this music, when you think about all the Black American or all of the American music, it all dates back, it all comes back to Black American music. Let me show you this. Let me stop this right quick, just to kind of show you what we're dealing with, man. Let me go, just bear with me 1 second. And I get this. Let's see, New Orleans. Okay. Let me show you a few photos here. Okay. This is Rufus Payne. Now, he's the gentleman who actually taught Hank Williams how to play, the famous country singer. So behind at this period of time, I'm talking about in the early 20th century, every white musician in terms of country, blues, or whatever, rock and roll, there's a Black man somewhere behind the scenes that made that possible. This gentleman, Arthur Crudup, he's the guy who originally sang That's All Right Mama. I think in I think it was the earlier 54, I think. I'm trying to remember, in the early 50s, I'm sorry. Or it was the late 47, I'm not sure, 47 or something like that. But that's what I'm saying. So everything these gentlemen are doing, these white guys are doing, is predated by Black Americans. So I just wanted you guys to know that. Let me go back to this particular video. And I just thought that would be interesting to know. Native American, go back to Native American, back into blues, and let's continue. Okay. Again, I don't want to play the music. Let me start here.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Beyond Words. Welcome back to Beyond Words. Welcome back. Pura Fay, Jennifer, and Sunny make up Eulalie, a singing group that combines traditional octaval melodies with a hint of classical European harmony. Their roots are in the Deep South, and their nation, the Tuscaroras, developed lasting ties with Africans displaced during the slave trading era.
Now see, again, that through line, ties to African Americans. This is how they're making their case, by proximity. Again, like I said, you will see this throughout the whole video. Let me move it over here.
In the early 1800s.
Slaves, whether they were African or indentured servants or whoever it was, there's a lot of things were shared. Good music, good food,
See that? Share.
good-looking people.
Now, before she starts singing, these women don't even have Native American names. I think one is has a Jewish name, and I don't know. The person that's singing initially, she's doing a kind of feel holler type of feel that comes from Black American culture back in the slave days, right? But they want you to believe that this comes from them. There's a phrase in the song where it says, let's go back home where the blues came from. They're talking about their ancestors and things of that nature, and they want to go back home to North Carolina where the blues come from. So they're laying claim to the blues, right? So, and throughout their, I'm not going to play their whole singing. We don't have to do that, but I'm going to play enough for you guys to hear all the Black American elements of musicality that they adopted in their presentation. But they want you to think that that's the way they always was. Let's go.
The
names of the faces have been silenced and erased from history's recorded time and place. As we step back through our ancestors' paths, through the trees, the rivers, and the womb, and the sacred fire, we find that the people and the land are one and the same, and the spirit and the blood of our ancestors are within us, and we shall never die. I'm going home, going home. North Carolina is crying in my soul. Creator, I'm reaching out to you. Tell them on the other side that they are alive within my soul. Return their prayers that run through my veins. Return the land and heal her pain. In truth, tell the world the blues where it comes from.
Okay, so you heard that, where the blues come from. Now you hear all the inflections that's typical in Black American singing style. But again, they want you to think that they created that. And somehow Black Americans adopted that from them. The blues, right? Let me stop this. And let's do this. I'm going to give you an example of some of the a field holler to show you the, for me, this is where the blues comes from. All right, from the field hollers. Okay, let me stop that. Hold up. Okay, let me do this. 1 second, guys. Let me just grab this video. If I can find it. And 1 second, Black. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, now this is a work song, but I want you to keep in mind, and I'm going to play the field holler in a second, but this is a work song, right? And you hear the cadence when he talk about the heartbeat. This is a 4/4 time signature that these men on the railroad is doing. These people ain't had no contact with no native people. The 4/4 cadence is common time, meaning it's all over the world. How in the world can Native Americans claim something that's so common? But that's what they're doing. So let me play this. It's about 2 minutes. Let's play it all the way through. There's only audio. Now, if you listen very closely, it's going 1, 2. Yeah, I'm gonna clap. That's 4 times. That's the beat, heartbeat. So that's common time. For Native Americans to claim that is ridiculous. Let me move it ahead a little bit. Okay, here we go. So that's what we're talking about. Let me go back. Let's cut this off. 1 second, gentlemen, ladies and gents. Okay. So that's what we're talking about. That is the feel holler. So for me, that's the genesis of the blues. It was talking about sorrow and your feelings and things. That's the genesis of it. It's nothing to do with Native American culture. Let me give you another example of what their music or what their vocal styling really was back in the day. I found the early recording of that, and then give me a second and see if I can find that. I got so many tabs, so you gotta, let me see. Excuse me for a minute. Let me see, it must be over here. Okay, let me see. African heartbeat, Native American origins, blues, American heartbeat. Okay, for some reason I don't see it. Let me see. Let's do this. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry. Here we go. All right, now listen to this. This is the original Native American singing, or at least the oldest recording.
Videos of our ancestors singing.
Now, they want y'all guys to forget that history. They want you to forget that history. And let me give you an example of what they're trying to do. Let's do this. Hold on for 1 second. Yeah. What's up? Yeah. They didn't? No, we didn't hear it. Okay, I'll come back to it. All right. Okay, somebody just told me no one heard the 4 on the floor. We're gonna come back to that. Let me do this. I'm not sure why that wasn't heard. We'll come back to that. It's not important at this moment. Let's do this. I want to lose my train of thought. Now, we were talking about the way Native Americans initially sang, but now they want you to think that wasn't always true. All right. So here is an Indian woman who is adopting Black American style in a Native American context. Right. So check this out. Now you hear that? That's not Native American styling. So she's pretending, or she's trying to project the idea that this is Native American singing. This clearly comes from Black American influences. So why would she do that? They're trying to steal the culture. They're trying to hijack the culture. They're trying to crowbar themselves into the culture, into the music culture. So all I'm doing is pointing out the obvious things that is clear, and they're not going to get away with it. You know, they're just not going to get away with it. Let's go back to the video that I was talking about, because there's a lot here to cover. I'm going to try to get through it as fast as I can. All right. So we heard enough of these ladies. Let's move. Let's see where we are. We don't have to hear them all sing. You got the basic idea. Okay, let's start here. Come on, move that out the way. Come on now. Here we go.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Beyond Words. Welcome back to Beyond Words. Welcome back. New Orleans is at the heart of the Mississippi Delta blues. It's also home to Cajun, Zydeco, and Creole music. A lot of these rhythmic styles are worlds away from the token Indian beat. For instance, the swing cadence so prevalent in the blues is 100% Native American and is a homage to the heartbeat. People like Charlie Patton, Redbone, and the Neville Brothers all have a connection to this diverse legacy.
So again, where's the proof of that? Where's the proof that the swing rhythm in the blues comes from Native American culture? That again would mean that musicians were in the same areas with these Native American people. And so they're not proving anything. They're just suggesting it and hope that you will agree with it. So he talks about Charlie Patton. We're going to get with Charlie Patton in a second. Now, this is the area we started with the blues. Now they're going to get into jazz. All right, here we go.
And in the land it was born from.
There was a whole movement in the Florida Everglades where freed slaves and Seminole people got together.
Again, that's the through line. That's how they're crowbarring themselves. That we were together. The Seminoles in Florida, you know, with the native people, whatever. This is the through line. They don't have to prove jack.
They resisted the American government for like 100 years. They were in those swamps, you know, and that created its whole culture. People left slavery, they came into native society and were adopted in, you know, so you got a lot of intermarriage that happened over a lot of time.
Okay, so this is Charlie Patton. He's the guy who many people believe was Native American or mixed ancestry. Come to find out, there's no definite proof that he was. He wasn't born on a reservation. He was born on a plantation in a share. Well, I think his father was a sharecropper, or he was a sharecropper as well as a young kid. So it's likely that his features come from maybe the dad had some kind of relationship with a white woman, for all I know. So why not make people believe you come from something else than to admit that you know a white woman is your mom or whatever. But there's no evidence. And so a lot of Native American people will gravitate to this idea that he's half Native American, but he was born on a plantation. So what we talking about, again, we're talking about culture. We're not talking about ancestry. You could be of different ancestry, but it depends on where you grew up. That defines you, that molds you, right? It's not your ancestry. So if he grew up amongst Black people, regardless of his ancestry, his culture is Black American.
Yeah, a lot of the old blues players were born and raised on reservations. You know, people like Big Joe Williams, you know, Sonny Terry, a lot of people, a lot of the old guys.
Just Sonny Terry. The other gentleman, no, he was not born on a plantation. Again, they just believe what all you got to do is put it out there. Oh, he was Native American. These Native people are gonna gravitate to that.
It's from like the 1920s and 30s.
I ever get back on my...
Charlie Patton didn't grow up on a reserve, but the overlord of the Delta blues was of African, white, and Indian heritage.
See, where's the proof of that?
His voice reflected hard times and hard living. Patton was a contemporary of Son House, Tommy Johnson, and Willie Brown. He taught Howlin' Wolf how to play the guitar and influenced the music of a young Robert Johnson. It was his slide guitar style that gave Patton a position of prominence in Delta blues. Patton had another trademark. He used the back and front of his guitar like a drum and stomped his feet to reinforce certain beats or to create counter rhythms. Patton recorded some 68 titles between 1929 and 1934.
All right, that's enough of Pat. Let me move on to this other part here. This will be an interesting part as well. No, not this part. No, I'm gonna skip this part as well. This is about the Cajun, and that's not interesting to me at this point. Let's go here. All right, let's go.
Maybe some Native Americans.
Okay, now this is this nephew of one of the Neville brothers, and this is interesting. Now I got a lot of flack when I said something about Dizzy Gillespie was wrong about something. Well, it's just because he's a pioneer doesn't mean that he's always right. Dizzy Gillespie was wrong when he said what he said. So it's okay to disagree with somebody if you have the information to refute what they're saying. Now, people might say, well, how could you disagree with one of the Neville brothers from New Orleans? You're not from New Orleans, true? He would know better about New Orleans history than you would, but come to find out he doesn't. And some people will just, believe whatever. It's just like, think about it this way. You know how New Yorkers, right? Many New Yorkers haven't been to the Empire State Building, right? They live in New York but haven't been there. So you're not curious. So you're willing to accept, certain narratives, and you're not doing your own investigation. And so with this brother Neville, I forget his first name, it'll come to me. He's going to say some things about the Indians and Congo Square where he was totally wrong about. So let's listen.
Maybe some crooks. Some people who were trying to hide out from the law. It was that kind of little hang, and they would mingle. And that Congo Square, that's what they call it. That's where the African Americans and Native Americans hooked up. And they would do, celebrate, and however they were able to celebrate, like singing and beating on drums, and because they were pretty oppressed back then. There wasn't a lot they could do. It wasn't like they could, it wasn't a lot of free reign to go do whatever they wanted to. That when they got into that sacred place, they were free. That's where the Mardi Gras Indians came from, and it stemmed from that back in the days, Congo Square, Native Americans, African Americans, slaves and whatnot mingling, and that reached over through the years, and then as years went by, it became a tradition. For the Wild Chapatoulas, Mardi Gras Indians, and that aspect of New Orleans culture is such an amazing influence on not only me, but a lot of people, a lot of kids growing up, especially the time when I grew up, because it was when you saw like the Mardi Gras Indians and that musical rhythmic thing. It was a street thing.
Okay, so let's figure out, let's go back and talk about what he said. He was totally wrong about Congo Square in terms of what it was like. The native people were there, but it was prior to the enslaved people being allowed to go there. So by 1740, that's when the Africans were allowed to go there. The native people were not there in 1740. And I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to prove to you what I'm talking about. All right. So let me see if I can find it. Like I said, I got a lot of tabs. So let's see. No, let's see. Congo Square. Okay, let me do some photos. Let's do some photos here. First, I'm going to start with some photos. Okay, let's do it this way. All right. Okay, now you guys know of this picture right here. It's a famous picture. We all seen it. Now, one would have to be highly critical of the artist who decided not to include Native Americans. Now, you heard Ivan Neville said, it was Native Americans and enslaved Africans who congregated together and created this thing. But as you can see in the photo, there is no no Native American in this photo, or this particular, what I would say, artistic rendition of this photo, of this particular Congo Square photo. Now, let me go here. Now, here is a, what you call it, a placard, should I say, where it talks about Congo Square. And let me read what it says. Congo Square is the vicinity of the which Huma Indians used before the arrival of the French for celebrating their annual corn harvest and was considered sacred ground. The gathering of enslaved African vendors in Congo Square originated as early as the late 1740s during the Louisiana French colonial period and continued during the Spanish colonial era as one of the city's public markets. By 1803, Congo Square had become famous for gatherings of what? Of enslaved Africans who drummed, danced, sang, and traded on Sunday afternoons. By 1819, these gatherings numbered as many as 500 to 600 people. Among the most famous dances were the bambula, the kalinda, and the Congo. These African cultural expressions gradually developed into Mardi Gras Indian traditions, the second line, and eventually New Orleans jazz, rhythm, and blues. So again, there is no mention of Native people at Congo Square at the time the Africans were there. So again, Ivan, again, I don't want to criticize anybody, but if you're wrong, you're wrong. And this is not me saying, this is a placard that's at Congo Square that says that. And if you look at this particular monument here, I don't know this lady. I just took the photo. All the people pictured here is Black or African. You don't see any pictures of Native people. But that's the way, it is what it is. It is what it is. So look like this lady looked like it had dreads or something. I don't know about that. But anyway, that's what it has there. Let's go back. Now, let me do this as well. Let me offer you more proof. All right. Let's see. Let me go back. Let me see if I can. Okay. Now, this lady is going to talk about the instruments at Congo Square. They're not Native American instruments. So that ought to tell you something about what was going on. Listen.
Played in Congo Square, and we know this from different sources, primary documents, accounts, newspaper articles, interviews from the WPA period. This is a jawbone of a mule's jawbone, and I heard about it, I read about this rather, in several accounts.
Let me go back here.
So I'd like to show you some of the instruments that were played in Congo Square, and we know this from different sources, primary documents, accounts, newspaper articles, interviews from the WPA period. This is a jawbone of a mule's jawbone, and I heard about it, I read about this rather, in several accounts. And this makes such an awesome sound. You can't duplicate this. In Africa, the gourd is used for so many purposes. And it's used as a jug, if you cut this off and you get the seeds out. But it's also used as a sound chamber. So this instrument, which people call the kalimba or the mbira, you can hear it if you're very close to it. But if you place it into the gourd, the sound amplifies, magnifies it, rattles. And the rattles were very, very important in the music that was played at Congo Square. So, of course, you take them, and they were made different ways. This is another example of instruments that were used in Congo Square. So we have the reed made from bamboo. So the primary instrument was the drum. It laid the foundation for the music. And there were different sizes, different shapes, different styles of drums. So today, Congo Square is known around the world for the legacy.
Okay. All right. So basically, that's an example of the instruments that were played at Congo Square, and they're all African derived. No Native American instruments. Even the diagram of the drums reflect an African influence. All right. So again, my brother was wrong, and it's okay. It's okay. Let me go and talk about. Remember, he talked about the Mardi Gras Indians. Also, that influence he believes came from the Congo Square experience. So let me play that to give you an example of what we're talking about. Let me see.
Big go by down, don't know how, make a caterpillar crawl a slippery wall. And when I get him to the top, I dare him to fall.
I'm not sure exactly when it started, but I do know that blacks wasn't allowed to do Mardi Gras with Europeans in the French Quarter. We had to utilize European holidays.
Oh, let me go back. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go back. Let me see. Let me see where we are. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Sake. So it's a very, very passionate thing to actually be involved in this tradition. The Black Carnival traditions of New Orleans started out of resistance. Africans who came here during the transatlantic slave trade, when they rebelled against slavery, they ran off into the maroon communities with the indigenous, and they would hide them from the slave masters. So the way that we pay homage to those indigenous folk for doing that was to create this tradition that we call the Masculine Indian tradition. They started calling us Mardi Gras Indians. That wasn't a name that we gave ourselves. We used the term Black Masculine Indian to make the distinction that when we pay homage, we're mainly speaking of the people that was able to hide us. And you can't hide people if you don't look like them, right? There was many folk here, Black folk of African descent, who were indigenous to Louisiana many years before the transatlantic slave trade. Black Indians. And that's who we're actually paying homage to.
Okay, so what's clear, he says that even if you consider yourself indigenous, he believes that they were of African descent as well. And so it is what it is. But again, I'm just playing that to demonstrate that Ivan Neville don't know his own history. It's unfortunate, but he doesn't know his own history. So let me go back to the video at hand, and we could try to finish this up. All right. Let's see where we are here.
Here he comes. He's opened the door and he comes out full.
Okay, let's go here. So
throughout their long career as both solo performers and members of the group that bore their family name, the Nevilles have proudly carried the torch of their native New Orleans' rich rhythm and blues legacy. Their sound evolved into the highly successful band, the Meters. Their most famous album, Yellow Moon, was released in 1989 at the peak of their career. It was produced by another Aboriginal artist, Daniel Lanois. In addition, a second generation of Nevilles has embarked on a solo career. Aaron's son Ivan is currently in the studio recording his third CD titled Scrape.
Welcome back to the program, Ivan Neville.
Okay, let's move this ahead. Let's see where we are here. He's going to sing. Like I said, I can't play. Okay, this is the end of this particular video, but I want to talk about, let me finish this up.
It offers hope, heals the deepest wounds, and as we've seen, bridges cultures in the worst of times. Thanks for watching. Join us next.
Okay, so that's the end of that particular video, but I want to just cover one more thing from another video, and we're going to wrap this up. All right, let's do this. And this is another video from Thomas, Oklahoma. Thomas, Oklahoma, if you're watching, man, you know, I'm gonna once I finish this video, I'm gonna leave my email on the screen, and you can hit me up. We can have a discussion about all of this stuff that's in this particular video, because I have a problem with a lot of it. Let me see. Now here is an interesting. Let me see where we are here. Oh, okay, we'll go back here. All right.
Native American history with a focus on inventions and contributions, which may be unknown to many or hidden away or ignored by Western establishments. This is great news. Did you know that some native and Afro-Indigenous pioneering musicians were behind the art of constructing the heartbeat of jazz, which has become the common standard rhythm of American jazz music? In fact, it was an Afro-Indigenous.
So that lady that you saw right there. Her name is Mildred Bailey. She's a mixed race woman. She presents as white. She was crowned the queen of jazz, but her earlier influence, of course, were Black American. But if you know, like I know history, right? You could be white and be the king of Black music. So for example, Elvis, king of rock and roll. There's a gentleman in jazz. His name is Paul Whitehead. He was crowned the king of jazz. Benny Goodman was crowned the king of swing. So it's not uncommon to have white people or white presenting people to be crowned king and queen of Black American music. So I just want to put that out there. So many people will champion Mildred Bailey as some kind of pioneer, but all she's doing is singing Black American music. That's it. And it doesn't come, and again, you heard that word heartbeat, foundation of jazz. It's just insane. Let's go. Let's listen to what this gentleman has to say. And let's go.
Indigenous jazz pioneer who was the first to adopt the native 4/4 heartbeat and feathering technique that originated with the native social dance songs of the Southeast and woodland cultures. Let's hear their stories and see the receipts.
The way that they recorded in the old mono days would be one microphone, cab would be the closest one to it, then you'd have the saxophones standing a little ways behind him, then you'd have the trombones standing a little ways behind that, and then you'd have Cozy Cole way back in the distance, you know, and the piano would be pretty close. And that's how they recorded. They'd adjust the volume by moving musicians closer and further away to the one microphone. He was very, very particular and very critical about the drums. In swing, the drummer is supposed to feather the bass drum, doom, 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 right? Normally, they feather it even, doom, 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 doom. But what Cozy would do, he'd add the Native American element, so he'd put accents in it. Doom, doom, dun, doom, 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 dun, dun, doom, 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 dun, 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 doom, dun, 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 right? Changed the whole thing.
Come on, Cozy, beat out that jive now, Sancho.
But for some reason, Granddad couldn't explain this to people.
Okay, so let me stop that right there. Okay, now his name is Cozy. He's referring to Cab Calloway's drummer, Cozy Coles. Now, he is attributing this thing to a Native American influence. Now, I believe Cozy Coles, if I remember right, he was born in 1909 in East Orange, New Jersey. That's this town next to Newark, New Jersey. I doubt very seriously there are Native American tribes in East Orange, New Jersey. So it's a stretch. Now, is it possible? Listen, this is the thing about influence. Because 4/4 is so common, right? It's a common time. Isn't it possible that Cozy Coles wanted to do something intricate with it on his own? Why are they trying to connect it to Native American culture or drum culture? It seems a bit insane to do that. For example, the pentatonic scale in music is a 5-note scale. It's almost universal all around the world, right? It doesn't belong to one culture, right? But it's played various ways, but it only involves those same 4 notes. Now, what the Black American did is add a flatted fifth to the pentatonic scale. Those of you who know music understand what I'm saying. If you add a flatted fifth to the pentatonic scale, you get the blues scale, right? That is totally a Black American creation. The blues scale defines blues. So how in the hell can Native Americans who didn't create the blues scale take credit for creating the blues? That makes no sense whatsoever. So that's enough of that. Let me prove to you again, one more thing. I'm going to show you an example of Native American drumming. Let's see. Like I said, it's a lot of tabs. So let's go here. Native American drumming. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Now listen to this gentleman here. Let's go back about here. Let's see. Go back here. Now, let's be honest. This is Native American music. Come on now. Why try to pretend Black music is your music? Here we go. That's the heartbeat they're talking about. Now that's their culture. That's their music culture. But they want you to think that is more than that. It may be more than that. It's maybe more now because they adopted so much of our culture, our music culture. So clearly it's more now. But traditionally, it's not that. All right. So let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's see where we go. Let me go. Go. We're going to do this. We're going to do a brief history on jazz drum, and they're not going to mention Native American influence, but let's just listen.
So the story of jazz drums starts right here with the American March. Very simple, no frills. Played on the snare drum, the bass drum.
This is absolutely terrifying.
Okay.
So these are pictures of two
Sorry.
people's legs. Both of them are in their 70s. The only difference is one of these people is sedentary and the other one continued to work out. There's even a documentary that
Drum, and what would later be called as the hi-hat, of course. They were all separate instruments. But as the music progressed into New Orleans, now you started having the influence of the African and Caribbean rhythms. And the drum set was then put together all played by one person. A man known as Baby Dodds. And other important figures included members like Zooty Singleton and Chauncey Morehouse. You have what is known as the Big Four, which is a big old bass drum beat on beat 4. Just like that. Now, of course, as the music started to progress, again, further, and moved into the big cities like Chicago and New York, the center of the beat moved from the snare drum to the hi-hat, otherwise known as a sock cymbal. And the drummers most responsible for carrying that beat included people like Chick Webb, Sid Catlett, Papa Joe Jones, and Sonny Greer of Duke Ellington's orchestra, of course. And that was the main beat of what we know as the swing era.
Okay. All right. So when he mentioned Caribbean rhythms. What he's really talking about is African rhythms. Because when you talk about the bambula and all of those rhythms, those are African rhythms. And for some reason, they don't mention it that way. But that's what we're talking about when we talk about, because what they often make the mistake of, this is the mistake that a lot of I won't say historians, but casual historians make. The mistake that they make is that they assume that the Haitians were always there in New Orleans. So this is where they get the Caribbean so-called influence. But the Haitians came in around 1810, 1809, during that period. Now, remember when we went over the placard where it said Congo Square, the enslaved Africans came in 1740, right? Those Africans weren't Haitian. Those Africans came directly from Africa. So every Haitian, every African that was there prior to 1810 were not Haitians. They spoke Creole because the French was in charge. So the Creole that they spoke was because the French was in charge, not because they came from Haiti. So we have to understand the history and put this stuff in context. You know what I'm saying? Because if we don't understand what took place when, we'll make a mistake and assume certain things. So the brother was right, but then again, he made a mistake. It's okay. It's okay. A lot of stuff that we talk about is stuff that we've been fed. We don't take the time to do our own research. And I know that brother is probably very musically inclined. But again, he made a mistake. And it's okay. You know, so this is what, let me wrap this up by saying this. What you're going to find with people who propose or are proponents of this Native American influence in blues and jazz, they will always use proximity to Black Americans to do it. That's their number one go-to. And like I said, there's no way you can interview the pioneers. Now, this is what you got to think about. This is what you think about. Imagine this. Let's say you weigh what the Native Americans are saying, that there was an influence. And then you weigh how I believe that there wasn't an influence. So how do you decide which is true? Since you can't interview nobody no more, everybody's dead. So how do you decide? You decide simply by who were the people involved during those times. Clearly in the blues field, I would say 95%, if not more, were Black American. If you look at jazz, I would say at least 75% was Black Americans, because you did have some white people that was into the jazz thing, right? So I'm not shouting them out. I'm not shutting them out. You know what I'm saying? But so like, I have no problem acknowledging European influence in jazz. It's unmistakable. So I'm not one of those people who say, oh, Black Americans did everything by themselves. Creation or influence is not creation. I made this statement before. If, let's say you're in a multicultural atmosphere, you have Black people, Hispanic, Irish, Jewish, whatever, German, all these people in the same room. Everybody's influenced by everybody, right? But it was the Black American through all of that that's figured, that said, wait a second, I could do something with this. With my own culture, maybe I take a little bit of this and take a little bit of that and create something that never existed before. That's what Black Americans did. You can't take that away from them. This is how patents are issued, right? A lot of ideas that people have in terms of patents, they got from other people. But it's the finished product that gets the patent, not the influence. The finished product gets that. All right? So let's not get caught up in thinking influence is creation. It's not. Black America created. I could care less if there was a so-called heartbeat coming from Native American people. You didn't create it. You're not there. Where are you in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s? Outside of Mildred Bailey, who I mentioned before, who was a white woman, basically a white woman with Native American ancestry, mixed ancestry. Where are the Native American jazz drummers? Where are the Native American blues players in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s? They're non-existent. But now they want you to believe that they created the music, or at least, what do you call it? At least gave us the foundation so that we could create this music. It's insane. If you created the heartbeat and you created the swing rhythm and all these things that you say you created, why weren't you out front demonstrating that? So this is how you could tell that it didn't come from them. And again, I offer, let me do this before I forget, because I did offer, let me see where I am. Okay, caption, let me do this. Now, this is for Thomas, Oklahoma. My email is there. Hit me up. We can have a conversation and you could tell me or explain to me where I'm wrong. And I'm willing to listen. But you're not going to use proximity to justify creation. That's not happening. That's not happening. All right. So I just need you to know that. All right. All right. So listen, let me do this. Let me open up the chat. Not open up the chat, but I got time for maybe 15 minutes. If anybody want to come up, let me put this in the chat. And you guys could offer what maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you want to tell me I'm wrong. And I'm willing to listen. But you got to come with facts. You got to prove to me that I'm wrong. You got to prove to me anything that I said in this video is incorrect. That's what you have to do. I'll be happy to listen. But I doubt you'll be successful. But you're more than welcome to try. You know, let's see who's in the chat. You got DJ Biggs. What's up? What's up, DJ Biggs? Got Malik in the house. Thomas, Oklahoma knows. Let me see. Knows he didn't even know the Native Americans had slaves. Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. He don't even know. Dr. Cologne, you're not coming up, man. Get the hell out of here. You know, you're not coming up. No. You're not coming up. Anybody else could come up, not him. You know, nobody else. Definitely not him. Let's see. Who else wants to come up? Let me see who else is in the I can't debate anybody who can't accept that Black American culture is the foundation of hip hop. I can't do it. So I can't debate anybody who won't even acknowledge that hip hop language and vernacular comes from Black American language and vernacular. It's a waste of time. So I just want him to know that. So don't waste my time, Doc. I don't have no time for it. All right, my brother Malik. Let's see. Malik. Turn on your mic, brother. Let me see. Okay, I'm sorry. Here we go.
Peace. What's going on, brother?
Peace. How you doing, Malik? What's up?
Okay, yeah, it's always, people want to ride that train, that gravy train. Man, you had many discussions,
yeah,
about a lot of, people pop up out of nowhere. I mean, remember, you only go after the giants, you don't go after the little people. And I apologize to a sister on here. I didn't want to get no type of debate or nothing, but I was telling everybody have different stories of their family heritage. And I know through my family, I told you about my family coming out of Georgia, Muskogee, and Alabama, Choctaw, and we don't have a slave story in our book, history and everything. But I'm gonna tell you something. Those Red Indians, they lived on teepees. They lived in teepees. They were squatters on the land. Okay, I was telling people, go read this book, Ancient America by J.D. Baldwin. it explained that they're Eastern Siberians and they mixed with $5 Indians. They never question these pale skin, but they question us in a heartbeat. My thing is this, we don't have creation of creators in none of our music genres at all.
Right.
So that puts you to the side. So my thing is, a musician, and we spoke about all musicians around the world use different instruments. You don't get credit if you didn't help create it, right or wrong.
Right.
They don't get credit for that because they didn't create and help create nothing. But you know what's funny? We get credit because we're the foundation. People speak on they got a American Indian or indigenous American Indian hip hop. But look at the word hip hop coming from us. They always add on like Latin jazz. But meanwhile, there was jazz before Latin jazz. Like everybody always adding on to our stuff. There was, what I'm saying, what they say, the Latin hustle. But there was the hustle before the Latin hustle.
Right.
I'm just trying to say we are the foundation. We'll always be the foundation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why, bottom line, we can't be deported nowhere because we are the true American dream. Because when you think of North America, you think of us. Well, you call yourself Black, African American, FBA. I respect all that. You know what I'm saying? It's what you answer to. You know what I'm saying? But you're still my brother, you're still my sister, no matter what.
Right.
Right. But at the end of the day, like you said, sometimes you got to question these people because they don't come with document history. They just read little something. They try to come on here and prove you wrong. Meanwhile, they don't have the evolution of it. They don't have nothing of this. You know what I'm saying? It's just talking points, and it have no facts.
Right.
And that's the sad part. You have no facts. But I'll land my plane.
All right. Okay. What's up, Patrick? What's up, brother? Go ahead.
What's going on, brother? True Savior.
Not much at all. Not much at all. How you doing?
Hey man, I heard your broadcast that I just wanted to come on and support you. You're definitely on the right track with the information and the history. Being a former saxophone player myself, who was inspired by John Coltrane, and Cannonball Adderley, Charlie Parker, and some other of our greats. One of the things that I know that when we were taught, they never said anything about it. Native Americans, not even when they gave us that little black flute in the songbook that we started out with. They never mentioned anything. The other thing is this. I don't know if you ever seen the great documentary Jazz by the legendary Oscar-winning Ken Burns.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Ken Burns doesn't mention any Native American.
No.
And he's a professor with no one can deny his credentials. So he didn't, not to mention the fact that Wynton Marsalis, who's from a prominent jazz family out of New Orleans, he never mentioned that Native American influence musically.
No.
He nor his brother or his father, the late great Ellis Marsalis. A few years ago, I don't know if you've seen it, but Brother Marsalis did a documentary, a movie called Bolden, about Buddy Bolden.
I heard of it, but I didn't see it.
The blueprint for jazz starts with what we know as jazz, swing era. It came out of ragtime, and Buddy Bolden was the one that was responsible. A jazz cornetist was the one that was responsible for the music making the transition from ragtime to what would later become swing jazz, infusing a little bit of what was the gospel of that time, predating Reverend Dorsey, because a lot of people don't know Reverend Dorsey, the author of Precious Lord Take My Hand, was a blues singer and songwriter.
That's right.
By the name of Georgia Tom. He's from Villa Rica, Georgia. He moved to Chicago, changed his life, became a pastor, and his wife and his child died in a church fire. And so that's how he wrote the song. Writing the song came about. But you have Buddy Bolden, and from Buddy Bolden goes Joe King Oliver, And then you have the one who really set the blueprint and brought the music really forward is Pops, the late great Louis Armstrong. And if anybody really wants to know the initial foundation, if you can find the rare copies, or maybe even somebody might even have the it downloaded on YouTube, Louis Armstrong's The Hot Fives and the Hot Sevens. If there were no Native Americans on the Hot Fives or the Hot Sevens, they ain't talking about nothing. I can tell you that now. They ain't talking about nothing. And ragtime preceded the swing era and what we know about jazz, and you had the great Scott Joplin, the author of Maple Leaf Rag. You also had some of our other greats in there, W.C. Handy, and these are the forerunners. But when Buddy Bolden mixed ragtime and march music and things of that nature, he was the one that I guess you could say mixed it all together and brought it out. And there were no Native Americans around Buddy Bolden, so I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't either. I don't either.
And,
that's why I decided to do it, because I don't know how much steam is getting, but I remember when I about a year ago, there was this, I don't know if you guys remember, I was kind of like in a battle with this dude from England, who was trying So what happened, this back and forth with him, and then one day he had a guest on who was trying to promote this Native American thing. So I did a video addressing that. And he never responded to it, but that's okay. And so I'm hoping that it doesn't catch, because if you let stuff just lie and not address it, it can get out of control. And so I just want to be a person that's want to get in the way. I want to be that gnat, that that pain, that person that's always in the way, preventing you from continuing to promote this information that I know is false. And
that's why I appreciate you, brother. And I'm a little bit more. You're better than me. You're a lot more nicer than I am. I'm a little bit more blunt, because I don't have time to waste. My time is precious, so I just go ahead and tell them, no, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Like one of the things we talk about, reggae. And let me say this: I'm married to a Jamaican. My uncle by marriage, for any Jamaicans that might be in the chat, is Everton Blender. He had a big hit in the 90s called Lift Up Your Head, which was a big international hit. I love him to death. But he's the contemporary of people like Bob Marley, and they don't understand hip hop, and they're a musical family.
Right.
They ask me questions. Now, if you would think that if they had such a big hand, if the island had such a big hand in creating hip hop, they would know things, but they ask me things because they don't understand. They don't understand how it fits into the musical tapestry. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, one of my wife's cousins, matter of fact, Everton Blender's daughter, and his wife, my wife, and stuff like that. I said, reggae is nothing but Jamaican R&B. That's all it is. R&B, they put their spin on it. And so she's like, really? So, but she's young. She's only like 24. So her mother said, yeah. Bob Marley was inspired by Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions. He was doing what every other Jamaican was doing until he heard the Impressions, People Get Ready. He heard that, and he decided he wanted to make a change, and they wanted to do meaningful songs, meaningful music with a message. But the thing about it was they only had local Jamaican hits. They couldn't get a big international hit. So they meet, and I hate to use this term, they meet a freedman. I'm not gonna use the FBA term. They met a freedman by the name of Johnny Nash. I don't know if anybody knows who Johnny Nash is. Johnny Nash is the original singer of the song I Can See Clearly Now. That song is the first reggae song that became an international #1.
That's right.
That song. He mentored He moves to Jamaica. Bob Marley convinces him to move to Jamaica. He goes to Jamaica. He stays with them for 2 years. He rehearses them. He teaches them how to write hits. And after that, you have Catch a Fire and all that, and they blow up. But yeah, and so this it's just, you know, it's and then the other thing is they weren't there on their own island, and they weren't the first ones copying us. It was the Jamaican Chinese.
Right.
Because the blacks didn't have money like that. But the Chinese could go back and forth to New York, to America, and they were listening to Louis Jordan and people like that, and they brought the stuff back to the island. So it was also the Chinese. The Chinese were the first ones that had the record labels on the island. The Chinese were the first musicians on the island.
Right. Yeah.
They got the game from the Jamaican, the Chinese Jamaicans.
Well, I made a video about that. So
who got it from us. And so I don't have a problem. Music, I like reggae. To me, it kind of all sounds the same for the most part. Where are your virtuosos? If everybody created this music, where are their virtuosos? What I mean by that is, give me the Jamaican Jimi Hendrix, or the Jamaican John Coltrane. We have so many virtuosos who are the tops in the world per instrument. And people talk about Afro beats. Well, Afro beats was co-created by a sister from California. Fela Kuti came here and stayed for a year.
Right, I hear you, man.
So, you know, I just appreciate what you're doing, and I just want to give you some support with the little that I know, in hopes that we can find some way to start clearing this stuff, because they got that. Have you been to or made plans to go to that hip hop museum?
I think I will go when it's open. I think it's going to open next year. I think.
Yeah, man, that's really gonna
yeah, I definitely will go for sure. I got to see
how you guys up there respond to that is going to be is going to be very, very telling to how this thing is going to go the rest of the way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, thank you, my brother. Let me do a shout out to people in the chat. Let me see. Akeem is in the chat. Derek, well, I'm not sure. Derek Foles, is he one of Cologne's people? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But shout out to him anyway. China Black, of course. Let me go through this. I appreciate you guys for stopping in. DJ Biggs, I already said Malik. Let me see. Charles Shaw, Mr. T. Let's see. Tyra Toy. Appreciate you, sister. Mike Freeman. Regardless if you're on my side or not, you know, shout out to you. Dr. Grant. Appreciate you, brother, for sure. Let me see. Jill and Tyler, Sunshine. Let me see. Okay. If I missed you, hey, charge it to my heart, not to my brain. But yeah, but I appreciate you guys for, you know, chopping it up with us. And again, you know, Malik, if you want to say anything final you want to say, or you good?
Yeah, brother. I want to say one thing. I appreciate that brother coming on. What's your name, brother?
My name's Pastor Gill.
Yeah, I just Googled Johnny Nash. Oh man, he played the big role in Jamaica, man. That need to be brought up, because let me tell you something. You know, it's always out of respect for everybody, but they act like we not influencing nobody. You know, like everybody influence us. We don't influence nobody. Everybody influence us. You know what I'm saying? You know,
brother, we had to pat it on the guitar. We had to pat it on the drum set.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out where's all this other people influencing us, and they're not where we are.
Right.
And you know what, brother? I just sent brother True Savior or whatnot. You know, I sent him something where there was a elder Jamaican dude. He said, let me tell you, the foundation is Black American music. He said we're pirates. We got that from them. You know what I'm saying? Because basically they was a Minto Calypso Island. once they infuse, you know what I'm saying, R&B and jazz and all that, this is where all the ska and reggae and all that come from. You know what I'm saying? And they don't want to go back to that because, you know, I guess, you know, we're not trying to say we help you create it, but you would have been just another mental Calypso Island, just like Trinidad. You know what I'm saying? So you got your jump off from us, but give credit where credit's due at. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna land my plane there. But that Johnny Nash thing, yeah, brother, True Savior, that's very deep. Thank you, brother.
All right, Derek Falls, my bad, brother. I don't know. I got you mixed up with somebody else that said those same initials. My bad. Well, you know, thank you for chiming in. You know what, guys? I think that's going to do it. Now, before you guys, if you're new to this channel, definitely thumb up the video, subscribe, and share this information. And so it's so important. We got to continue to gatekeep because there's people coming after our culture, man. There's people coming after us, and we got to stand in alignment and agreement that we're not going to let this stuff happen. We're going to, you know, speak truth to power and keep it moving. All right. So until the next time, guys, I'm out.